what the fuck was this director trying to say? That no matter what happens, no matter how much you age, you can just stay a kid forever? Even if it ultimately means living in their parents' basements, playing video games, watching anime. Oh, God.
When you cried, I'd wipe away all of your tears. When you'd scream, I'd fight away all of your fears. And I held your hand through all of these years, but you still have.
Well, today's my lucky day. Finally got an interview here. Yeah, it's a school. Looking for new teachers? And what way to eternally be a kid? Then go to high school every day.
I just want to make a difference in children's lives! Well, it seems like I was a bit overqualified for the job, so I guess I'll have to be a school teacher vicariously. And what better way to escape from my dull, pathetic life than to find a world of fantasy and wonder by watching anime.
Enter great teacher Onizuka. Who's that? Well, he's the star of Great Teacher Onizuka. Well, he's also the star of Shonen Junagumi and Bad Company, but that's not the point. Okay, here's the scoop. Toru Fujisawa, the author, wrote up a manga about a delinquent high school biker punk named Mikichi Onizuka. Even though the series didn't really catch on, Fujisawa liked the Onizuka character and decided to use him in another story, this time with him all grown up.
Great Teacher Onizuka is a massive hit. And what does every manga studio do when they have a hot franchise on their hands? Take that manga and shit it out on a TV as a poorly made anime, just so they could make a quick buck. Good job, guys.
Alright. Let me be fair. DTO does have a few good points. For example, the music. Check out the opening title bit for this.
My god, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. The music is awesome, the art style is sleek, the movements are incredible. There's another opening as well, and it's pretty good too, but this one just takes the cake. Hell, just compare this to your average Japanese song.
I'd say it speaks for itself.
My first big complaint is that they ditched all the high-quality art and sound in the openings for early 90s art quality and mediocre, generic background music for the rest of the show. Dear God, this art is ugly. Why is this guy's mouth moving when he's not even the one talking? When nobody's talking?
It's broken. None of us get too much in the way of calcium.
Or maybe are you trying to tell me that my friend here is...
It's like they decided to blow their budget load on making an awesome intro and then forgot they actually had a show to produce. The first couple of episodes center on how he's tricked by one of his students, Nanako, and how he eventually reforms her. This is all well and good, but Nanako leaves the series immediately after. They never even mention her again. What the fuck was the point of that? Why introduce a character at the very beginning of the show and wrap up her character arc in only 2 episodes, completely stalling the introduction to the actual mains? The only thing the first 2 episodes do right is introduce us to this Onizuka character, who appears to have no actual substance at all. His actions vary so much from moment to moment that it doesn't take the viewer long to realize that Onizuka isn't a teacher, but rather a blank slate upon which the artist can paint various reaction images to get a cheap laugh or two. And yes, he is batshit insane. What? Why is he wearing a wolf costume? And if it's a costume, why the hell is the tail wagging? This time, Onizuka says he's a Doraemon, but what kind of Doraemon costume is this? And why is he in an angel costume? A ninja costume? Auguste Rodin's the Thinker? A Mega Man enemy? What the hell is he? The master of fucking disguise? Why is this dick an elephant head? Did he just shoot his load all over that old lady's face? What is he doing now? Why is he shirtless with flashlights taped to his forehead dancing around a mark in the middle of the night? Where the fuck did Onizuka get a pair of night vision goggles? I mean, it looks like they could be made of 2 shitty high school microscopes, but then that brings up another question. Is he fucking MacGyver? Well, with all this shit he's pulling out of his ass, I wouldn't doubt it. All he needs to do now is grow out his hair. The only noteworthy Onizuka character trait is that he's completely nonsensical and extreme for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Once we hit the 3rd episode, 2 of the other main characters are introduced as commuters on Onizuka's train. Fuyutsuki, a beautiful English teacher and the only woman Onizuka has his eye on in the entire series that is actually legal, and Uchi Yamada, a perverted old principal. What? Did he actually just sniff her ass? He did! What the fuck is that? Seeing Onizuka beat the shit out of him for it is actually pretty satisfying, and it's here we see the only positive to the character. Watching Onizuka's outrageous antics can be quite satisfying on the occasional time that involves another character getting their just desserts. Unfortunately, Uchi Yamada turns out to be the guy doing the hiring, and well, the interview just seems to go a lot like mine just did. It's here we're introduced to the one theme GTO decided to tackle: the corruption and apathy of the public school system in Japan. I can identify with it to a point, because the school system over here is just as god-awful, but in GTO it doesn't work and ends up being shallow. The writers lack the talent to actually handle the issue competently, with each attempt ending up being a barrage of terrible comedy or poorly done melodrama, and the Onizuka character being the catalyst of change is both idiotic and unbelievable. Of course, Onizuka's not really one to give up, and he suplexes his way into the job. It's actually a bit more complicated than that, with Onizuka having to go through one of the most insane car chase pilots I've ever seen in order to become a teacher.
Attention all police cars, we are currently in a high-speed chase with a truck going south on Tohoku Highway.
And what does Onizuka get for his efforts? An entire first season of Monsters of the Day styled episodes. The show introduces a member of Onizuka's class with a particular problem. Onizuka's crazy antics solve said problem within the episode's 30-minute time allotment, and the student melds back into the pool of forgettable classroom characters for the rest of the season. And there's no originality in the students either. You have your introverted loser who is picked on the point of being suicidal, the brainiac who somehow has knowledge of computers that is so extensive the government goes to him for help, the extremely hot yet incredibly stupid girl with huge tits, the tough guy who always puts up a front with one weakness that causes him to get extremely emotional, and the gaggle of shallow, primped-up bitches that everyone loves to hate. This is like sitting down to watch an episode of One Tree Hill, only from the teacher's point of view. The hook is that Onizuka helps reform each of these kids through ways that border on child abuse. For example, watch how he helps Noboru, the low-confidence suicidal loser.
I am...
Come here, kid. I won't bite you.
Yes, sir.
Give me a hand, will you?
Uh-huh.
My hands are kind of full here, and I can't pick it up.
Oh, here.
Wait! Didn't mean that!
Huh?
Just needed some help with the other stuff. Thanks. I got a thing about people touching my pillow, you know? It's kind of one of those things.
Yeah, and trying to help Noboru grow a dick, Onizuka basically treats him like a servant the entire show. Now, where have I seen this before?
Wax on, wax off.
Part of the agreement Onizuka's under with the school states that he has to live on campus as a bodyguard, as well as teach regular classes during the day. His room ends up being a platform at the top of a stairwell with blankets for walls. Though despite this, he still manages to pimp out the place pretty respectably. But it's still not as cool as my place. Oh yeah. So Mr. Miyagi has Noboru help him unpack his stuff. Wild Arms 3. That game sucked. Wait, what? Did you see that? Is Onizuka actually doing a racist stereotype of Asians despite being Asian himself? Onizuka's class, the one with all the aforementioned problem students, apparently has a reputation across campus for running off new teachers, sending them to suicide, cults, and psych wards. Of course, Onizuka doesn't give a shit. His plan is apparently to dazzle him with probably the coolest first-class introduction of a prop that I've ever seen.
Starting today, I will be your new homeroom teacher, Great Teacher Onizuka, or GTO.
Holy shit, this is awesome! Like, on some level, I almost wish Onizuka was a teacher I had back in school. He seems like the type that would light up a joint with you in the boys' washroom rather than throwing you to the wolves. Unfortunately, this is one of the only cool things about this show. It quickly falls into the aforementioned routine of reforming Class 3-4's problem students. This poorly written plot actually makes CTO hard to sit through. When watching it, I actually fell asleep and missed significant parts of several episodes, forcing me to rewind it and sit through them again on multiple occasions just to get this done. Of course, this doesn't just end with shitty plots and shitty artwork. No, GTO covers all bases of mediocrity by also having stock music and terrible voice acting. Just listen to this.
All right, this is Great Teacher Onizuka, and I'm going to turn on the lights now, okay? Here we go now, ready? Actually, I was just gonna borrow a couple of these games, if that's all right.
Ah! Someone call an ambulance!
Don't be stupid. All we had to do was make one little mistake and we would have ended up down at the bottom of the ocean with a concrete suit.
My measurements are a secret. Nice meeting you, Eikichi Onizuka.
What's with the awkward pauses? Could the VAs be any more uninvested in their characters? And the sound editing is just as shoddy.
Yes, starting today, Mr. Onizuka.
Start living right here on campus, isn't that great?
I know Onizuka is supposed to be interrupting Sakurai, but it sounds forced and poorly done. Did I say Onizuka's actions border on child abuse? No, that's not quite right. Onizuka's actions totally cross that line. No, that's not even enough. There's crossing the line, and then there's obliterating the fucking line. Onizuka begins with public nudity and quickly escalates to assault in the minor and what could be interpreted as child pornography and molestation. There's no realistic way Onizuka is in jail by the end of the first episode. Why the fuck hasn't he been arrested yet? I mean, shit, look at this.
I'm not Doraemon. I'm Kenshiro. I've come to save Yulia from you villains.
Holy fuck! Just taking off your shirt like that is enough to get your ass 25 to life. I take back what I've said about wanting Onizuka in my high school. He has to be the shadiest fucking teacher I've ever seen in my life.
Come on, boys, get in. It's time to go.
While GTO's first season focuses on the problem students of Class 3-4, as well as his corrupt coworkers occasionally, and how Onizuka slowly wins them over episode by episode, Season 2 begins to focus on the puppet master of 3-4's constant rebellion, Miyabi, and how she pulls out all the stops in an attempt to get Onizuka fired. The first person Miyabi calls on is a woman named Arumi, a heterochromatic child prodigy who constantly puts herself on a pedestal due to her extraordinarily high IQ. While the first season's attempts at removing Onizuka were mainly comprised of putting him in compromising positions and hoping the higher-ups would fire him, Arumi approaches the problem a little differently. She's known for demoralizing other teachers with her advanced knowledge and simply attempts to drive him batshit insane by showing him up at every turn, just hoping he'll quit on his own. This, of course, doesn't work, as Onizuka is already batshit insane, so they spend the entire season trying to one-up each other. Season 2 is also the beginning of GTO's use of shitty CG to replace shitty artwork. Holy fuck, this looks worse than the first season of Reboot!
I come from the net.
They must have rendered this shit on a computer with a trackball and a turbo button. Second arc does have one good thing about it, though. Well-drawn food. I know that in basically every anime or cartoon show ever made, there's always a cooking/restaurant/dinner scene, but the food in GTO actually makes me hungry by looking at it. Just look at this shit. It looks fucking delicious. Why the fuck can't the artist draw this good all the time? Arumi's storyline picks up when she blows up the school. Yeah, she blows it up. Plants a bunch of bombs around. And of course, Onizuka still sides with her. Shouldn't she be in jail or something? Or at least juvie? Oh, the cops do show up, but Butt Sniffer shoos them off.
It's not like a major crime to be bothering the police with, but we will find those responsible and see that they are punished.
Fortunately, there were no students injured in the explosion, but we won't be
What?
able to resume classes.
Nobody was injured. Are you fucking retarded? Does this guy look like he got through without a scratch? This entire arc is built around a deep, dark secret Arumi has, some kind of childhood trauma that's caused her to act out. She also trusted her elementary school teacher as a kid, who betrayed her by telling the whole class her secret. The way this scene's set up, you don't actually learn what Arumi's secret is, and it really could be anything. I personally thought it was Arumi's innocent affection towards her teacher. Yeah, that would have made for some good drama. You've got the attraction between student and teacher angle, the child-adult angle, and the absence of taboo within the 7-year-old Arumi concerning lesbianism, love, pedophilia, and the teacher's attempts to show her that any romantic relationship would be inappropriate on about 50 different levels. But no, it turns out Arumi's a test tube baby. Yeah, her mom used donated sperm. Like, what the flying fuck? How is that a childhood trauma in any way? There's lots of sperm donor kids and single-parent kids out there, and none of them are blowing up schools! There's also some Hokkaido sub-arc where the cast takes off to the countryside, but is literally the most boring thing I have ever watched. When I mentioned earlier that I slept through whole episodes, it was around here. From what I can remember, there's some plain-looking girl in some old school in a dock, and another example of generic teacher betrayal, otherwise known as teachers are human too and have to live their own lives. I talk about the filler as there's a lot of fucking filler, but you really could say the whole show is filler to some extent. Episodes or arcs rarely relate together, and there's no overall coherent plot. Watching GTO gives you an empty feeling. Each episode ultimately leaves you with one question. Why the fuck should I give a shit? The third season reintroduces Miyabi as the main antagonist, as well as reminding us of Arumi's storyline after like 10 filler episodes. Onizuka gets drunk with a room full of high school girls, blows money students donated for the school trip, totaling over 1 million yen, and ends up dragging up one of Mirai's flunkies down with him. The whole thing's set up by Miyabi, of course, but the question really has to be asked. Why the fuck did Onizuka even agree to step into a room full of underage girls and alcohol? Isn't it, massively illegal? They're not actually underage, but god damn, Onizuka, that's a pretty lucky twist. It's not like Onizuka looked at a bunch of nubile young ladies in school uniforms and thought, oh, I bet they're of age and just playing dress-up. Onizuka's salvation comes in the form of a raffle ticket, where he wins a super expensive car in the draw, which he plans to sell off to make all the money. But Onizuka being an idiot, he decides to spend the whole day driving it around town, and Miyaba being an evil bitch sends it up so that he gets into an accident. Who the fuck didn't see this coming? And really, Onizuka, if that car were your only hope against being fired and potentially locked up for embezzlement, why the fuck are you joyriding in it? The final story arc brings Onizuka and the kids to Okinawa, presumably to fill the anime quota of generic beach, vacation, and festival scenes. Onizuka, in usual fashion, shits up everything by having girls and guys share rooms. I enjoyed one particularly funny scene in which Arumi had to confront her 3 anime nerd roommates, but that might have hit a little close to home for some of my viewers. But this story has some really awful concepts too, like the cave Noboru and Anko are trapped in, with the rising and falling water and the insane pressure and twisting passages. It's so goddamn improbable that such a place exists at all, let alone just off the coast from a huge resort hotel. It's more like a shitty JRPG puzzle dungeon than an actual real place. And the whole ordeal ends with Onizuka setting off a dormant nuke from World War II. And he survives it! And of course, so do the rest of the students, who couldn't have gotten more than, 50 meters away. Oh boy, this radiation wave sure makes for a warm summer night! The majority of this arc, and the majority of the whole fucking show, to be honest, is awful. Sure, GTO has its good moments, but they're dulled by the typical anime failings of implausibility, melodrama, and boredom. I can understand what GTO is trying to do here. Onizuka, Fuyutsuki, and Uchiyamada form the holy trinity of the show, much like Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Onizuka is supposed to be change. Unorthodox, inconvenient, and uncomfortable, but ultimately necessary. While Uchiyamada is Japan's status quo, working long hours as a salaryman with an underappreciative family, constantly struggling in vain to get anywhere in life. Fuyutsuki represents a mediation between these two forces, a way to apply Onizuka's revolution to Uchiyamada's real world. But the entire message of GTO is completely undermined by the show's lack of immersion and its tendency to trend towards shallow humor. Nothing about GTO is ever taken seriously or considered real. So how can the viewer think of its message as anything but a pathetic farce? It's like an English professor deciding to give his inconveniently placed Friday afternoon lecture wearing a gorilla costume. He might be trying to say something important, but all anybody noticed all class was that Donkey Kong happened to be teaching it. The end of the show is Onizuka randomly taking the rap for a crime Miyabi committed, becoming a wanted criminal and escaping Japan. Fuyutsuki spends what appears to be the rest of her life teaching and waiting for him to come back. And Onizuka? He's teaching in California.
California.
Wow, what a great ending. Build up Onizuka to be some kind of amazing unorthodox hero and then have him randomly fuck off to another country, leaving everybody else patiently waiting for his return for the rest of their lives. Why would people even wait this long for him anyway? He's not Jesus Christ or anything. And you know what the worst thing is? Sakurai shows up during the final episode and says, "Hey, Mr. Onizuka, I know exactly what your class is at acting up the entire show, but I didn't tell you for no real reason." What the fuck? Would it not have been easier to tell Onizuka exactly why every student he's had to deal with has been so psychologically scarred from the get-go? Why is the fucking finale so goddamn awful? Well, apparently the story is this. Anime episodes are generally produced and aired faster than manga books can be drawn and sold. So, if a manga and an anime following the same storyline begins on the same date, the production of the anime will outpace the production of the manga, and the two will end up with differing storylines. And if both American and Japanese TV have shown us anything, it's that compared to print writers, television writers are absolute fucking lunatics. So in the case of Onizuka, instead of waiting for the manga to catch up or going off on a horribly constructed tangent, they just decided to chop the series short and write a quick 5-minute ending to wrap everything up. Only they failed miserably, and the only thing you're left with is approximately 20 hours of wasted time and the taste of rotting cat spunk in your mouth. In fact, this is a problem that's absolutely just plagues this industry. Almost all the animes out there are based on manga, and if it's a popular series, you'll bet your ass they'll decide to release it halfway through the manga's run. So if you ever hear from your friends, oh, such and such anime is really popular, go give it a try, it's pretty much guaranteed that they end up outpacing the manga at some point and fucking everything up. Is it so hard to wait? Or to write something independently good? Or, hell, communicate with the manga team so they can at least have an idea where to go? But no, the manga team wants to keep the plot a secret so they can sell their overpriced pieces of ass, and the anime team wants to release a shitty show right away so they can cash in as much money as possible and take off before the scene dies down. What a fucking dump.
You know what the worst part is? I'm not even fucking done.